Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Shankly Sessions, the Liverpool podcast. We bring you each and every day on the upper tier. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. This is your Merseyside Derby match reaction and player ratings. Liverpool 2, Everton 0. Well, what do we say about that? Another kind of cup final feel out of the way. Close the gap again on Man City. And then we can park the league now for a week and we can focus on Villarreal on Wednesday, followed up by Newcastle early on Saturday, where we get to play ahead of Man City. And we could go ahead of them again, but it's a tough trip to Newcastle. But let's get into this match reaction. Probably no surprise really, except that we had kind of started off a bit lackluster. Trent was poor in the first 15 minutes, just giving the ball away up cheap, and it wasn't really on his pomp, if you like. Just seemed way off the boil, giving the ball up cheap, committing fouls, getting caught out of position. It was kind of a lackluster start all around the park, really, and a lack of urgency from the team, considering City had opened the gap to 4 points. Should have been at it right from the get-go, really. But obviously, Everton would have been lifted by the fact that they were in the bottom three after Burnley getting a great result earlier in the day. So they really needed to get something from this game. So what they tried to do is they tried to drag us down into their kind of dark way of playing in terms of fouls, in terms of time wasting. You know, Salah wasn't creating much really. The ball was going out there, but that boy out there on the wing, Mikalenko, had the measure of him at times. The midfield weren't really in the game at all. Alan and the Corey seemed to take control of that as well. In the first 20 minutes, you know, the game then started to liven up. Few tackles going in a bit firmer. The game was beginning to bubble over. 21 minutes, shot from distance from Mane, covered by Pickford. Everything already on the time wasting bus. Every time Pickford made a save, he was standing up and falling down and laughing about it and trying to wind people up. And that was really the theme of the match, really. Everton laughing and trying to wind us up, basically. And at times we fed into it and it bubbled over. And at times we rose above it. 23 minutes, Gordon gets booked for a dive simulation in the box, absolutely clear as day. Not that I like to see that from that lad at all. I mean, I think he's a really talented player, and I don't think that's where he needs to be going, because especially these days with VAR as well, like throwing yourself on the ground, you're just not going to get away with it. Liverpool getting dragged into this game then at that stage, Everton kind of dragging them down into their type of game. You know, a lot of tactical fouls, a lot of stupid stuff going on, stuff off the ball, lads throwing themselves on the ground. And Liverpool just needed to try and play their own game, because for as far as talent goes, we're head and shoulders above these guys. After 25 minutes, still laboured in our movement, you know, 26 minutes, you know, stupid from Jota and Coleman putting his hand into his face and stuff like that. And Jota's one of those guys where he's kind of a fierce kind of character. And he emotionally gets involved in stuff at times. And we like his shithousery at times, but more when we're in control. And I think they're the kind of things you kind of have to be careful of when you're in a derby, because spirits run high and these things can get out of control, you know. 30 minutes, again, lots of time wasting, cancelling each other out. Pickford again, just crawling around the box, taking forever for kickouts, stuff like that. And I really feel this is where, like, you know, Atwell as a ref, he was really, really poor. A lot of this stuff could have been stamped out early, and he certainly should have spoke to Pickford way earlier than he did in terms of the time wasting and stuff like that, you know. 33 minutes gone, Liverpool still slow in attack, allowing Everton to get back all the time. Times felt like we were playing against Burnley or something like that, or, you know, just a team, two banks, everyone behind the ball, defending for their lives. And we're just so slow in terms of the counter, so we weren't catching them on time. And it just felt the whole half slow and laboured. And again, Pickford in the 47 minute or something like that, down on the ball, just taking the piss, winking and laughing about it. Also the crowd at times was really, really flat. Like, for a derby game, Anfield should have been absolutely rocking. Now maybe I'm getting that wrong. Maybe it was rocking, but it certainly didn't come across in the coverage the way it normally does. So went in half time 0-0. you know, Everton time wasting trying to generate reactions out of the Liverpool players, getting sucked in slow, lacking urgency and movement, laboured. No shots on target for Liverpool. First time this season, the first half where we have another shot on target. So that would be poor in our estimation. And I'm sure Klopp was down the tunnel pretty quick and wanted to get that sorted out. So it was a massive job for the gaffer at half time. Badly needed to up the tempo. Can't be just showing up and expecting to win. This is a derby game. They're fighting for their lives to stay in the league. And you know what happens when you fight against these teams under relegation. They lift their game, and especially when they come to Anfield against Liverpool. And especially when it's Everton, they'd like nothing more than to scupper our title race with Man City on the way to maybe getting a point or three and helping to save their own necks in the league. Second half, attacking the Kop. So let's hear it, Reds. Let's raise that volume. Let's suck that ball into the net. 15 minutes gone, kind of more of the same. It was still kind of laboured and stuff like that, you know. Klopp really needs to consider his changes. The game was really, really flat at that stage. Solid defending from Matip against Iwobi when he broke that time. Matip's just fantastic defending, the way he brings the ball out of play as well to try and create stuff as well. Just a really, really good player. He's having a great season, not getting injured and stuff like that. Game began to open up. Liverpool playing more like Everton. A few tactical fouls and stuff like that. Seeing Trent with a breakaway and Gordon there went in, absolutely upended him. On 60 minutes, Keita off for Origi and Mane off for Diaz. But there was a serious lack at that stage of kind of game focus and stuff like that. But Origi coming on, and we know Divock likes a goal against Everton. But also his physicality and his awkwardness as well could cause them problems, because I think in the first half, or certainly the first 50, 60 minutes, we were very predictable in our play. And Mane, Salah and Jota, they kind of made it a little bit easy for Everton, being a physical side, Everton, stuff like that. And with two banks of four, very hard to slot those guys through. It has to be precision passing and stuff like that, and it doesn't always come off. So we could see why he made the changes. Diaz was going to bring that energy and that urgency out on the wing there. 62 minutes, ball comes in. Great work from Salah, who gets the assist, and also from Origi. Ball comes in, goes to the back post. Andy Robertson header 1-0, 62 minutes. Now the game has to open up. The introduction in Diaz of Origi and Diaz definitely changed the dynamic of the game. On 82 minutes, Jota is replaced by Henderson. Not Jota's best day at the office. I think he just got dragged into the petulance and the niggleness of the derby, and couldn't seem to lift himself out of it. On 85 minutes, Diaz with a bicycle kick wide of the goal. Divock pops up with a goal with a header. Should we be surprised? Divock Origi scoring a goal in a derby, really important goal, of course, made it that bit more comfortable for us and dampened down the nervousness. At this stage, Liverpool 87% possession, Everton 13% possession, which is more what we would expect based on when you see how these two teams have done this season and their position in the league. 89-minute Dele Alli and hard on Hendo, bad foul there, gets booked. And 90+1 Richarlison booked for unsporting behaviour. Again, no surprise. No secret on this podcast, I can't stand that guy. He's the most unlikable player in the division, to be honest. Game ends and the gap is closed with City back to a point. Both of us playing midweek, and they're playing Real Madrid and we're playing Villarreal in the semi-final of the Champions League. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. We will be dropping a preview for the Villarreal game, and probably on Tuesday, I would say, either Monday evening or Tuesday. I'm not too sure. So that's a massive week coming up for us again now. And look, every one of these weeks and every one of these games is now massive. These are all title decider games, especially with City looking so strong at the moment. They really put Watford to the sword yesterday, 5-1. So it was important that we got a couple of goals today and a clean sheet to keep that confidence going. So the goal difference is now back to +4, I think. And now we have to play Newcastle in a tough game up there on Saturday. I think we're the early game as well, coming off the back of a Wednesday game in the Champions League. But that's neither here nor there. Look, the games are going to come thick and fast no matter what we do. We've FA Cup final to look forward to. Plenty more league games to come as well, plus the Champions League. And that's it. We just got to keep it going. You know, and just keep everything on track at the moment for what we want to do. But I don't see it being a problem. I think we're strong all over the park. I don't see it being a problem. I don't think we have any injuries at the moment. Bobby should be back as well. He'll have rested the foot, so Bobby may be an option on Wednesday for Villarreal. But we'll cover that in the preview. Let's get into these player ratings. Allison, 8 out of 10, had very little to do. 45 minutes, basically a spectator. Second half, one dodgy punch clearance and one nervous clearance fired into touch. But he's getting an extra mark tonight for the piss take of Jordan Pickford by wasting time himself at the end. Trent, I gave a 6-2. That was probably one of his poorest performances of the season. He just seemed out of odds and out of the game. And he looked like, because he's the local lad in the team as well, it looks like the emotion of the occasion got to him as well. Endless passing, failing to find their man. Although he did improve in the second half, but I give him a 6. Not his best out, and he'll look back on the derby as one of his poor performances of the season, and he just knows, look, for these Liverpool boys, they know the emotion of it, Joel Matip, I gave a 7-2. Maintained his place in defence. Always reliable, Joel Matip, never really in doubt at all. Great covering going back there for the Iwobi breakaway and stuff like that. Just solid all the time. Didn't have a huge amount to do, especially with Everton deploying 10 men behind the ball. But just like solid as always from Joel Matip. My guess is Konate will probably come in for the Villarreal game, and then Joel might return for the Newcastle game, because he's the one thing the gaffer has done, he's been really good at rotating players in those key positions, and especially Konate and Matip rotating has been really, really solid for us, so I don't see it being a problem. Virgil gave a 7-2 as well. We'll have much more testing days than this. I mean, bar a couple of balls up to him and stuff like that, he basically dealt with everything. Won most of his aerial duels, I suppose the only one thing in the first half, he allowed the core to be played in a bit too easy, but that's only a small thing. It's nothing really at all. Virgil's always in control at the back there. And I suppose the key thing in this as well that we have to remember is, it's really, really important that we come out of this without injuries. The 3 points obviously is vital to keep the title race going. But what's vital as well is that we don't pick up any injuries and that we have a full squad to pick from in terms of rotation and everything else. Andy Robinson, I gave a 9-2. Andy was at it all day. He was pumped up for it. He's another guy who gets really emotional as well, but he loves the battle of it, and that inner Scottish fire in him comes out at times as well. He loves having a go off, lads. And, whenever there's a coming together with these two groups of players, Andy Robinson is in the middle of it. For one of the smallest guys on the pitch, he just gets stuck in and he doesn't care who it is. And it's great to see it. For him, he never shirks a challenge. He never worries about who he's up against. He just absolutely gets stuck in and gives it 100%. So he was our man of the match today, Andy Robinson, with a 9. Fabinho gave a 7-2 today. Just another masterclass in the 6th position. I think he could have done better maybe in the first half. I think he could have held on to the ball a bit better. I think in midfield at times we just gave it up a little bit cheaper, but a much better second 45 minutes where he took more control of the game and we took more control of the game. And especially when we got that first goal as well and it opened up a little bit more, that's when you kind of see the Fabinho and Thiago and all the really good stuff that we expect. But that first goal was absolutely vital to calm things down, bring them out a little bit and get us playing our game. Thiago gave a 7-2. I mean, it would have been hard for him to match his last few outings in terms of how good he was and stuff like that. And I know Mo Salah mentioned in the post-match interview the other day, he said to Thiago, while you come into the derby, you'll enjoy the derby and stuff like that. In truth, for a guy of his talent who likes to spray the ball around and stuff like that and control things in the midfield and the tempo and all, you don't really enjoy a derby because these are just painful hardship of games, really. You know what I mean? There's nothing enjoyable about these derby games. It's just a shit fest at time, kicking about, and it's just one of those dangerous games you want to tick the box and move on from it, even at home at Anfield. I think for players, sometimes they're horrible games to play. And I know when you come through and you win, there's the enjoyment there of winning and, getting one over our neighbours, which doesn't really matter at this stage. You know what I mean? The gulf in the two teams is unbelievable, the two clubs. But definitely for him today, the good outweighed the bad. But I think in the first half, I think he was less in control of it and they were more in control of it, and it was getting to him as well. He'd be a fiery character as well. And I'd say if you asked Thiago after the game, I'd say he would have turned around and said there was nothing enjoyable about that except scoring the goals, winning and getting the 3 points and moving on to the next game. Naby Keita gave a 6-2. Naby didn't really feature in the game at all. Again, failed to stamp his authority on the game, never really got into it. Game kind of passed him by in the first half, didn't really have an influence on it. A bit slack in possession at times. Didn't offer that kind of trusting forward, but it's very hard for him to trust forward the way he normally does because you're dealing with two banks of Everton players and stuff like that. So there's no space, there's no way of opening things up. So it frustrates a guy like Naby Keita. Very difficult for him to operate in that situation. Give him a 6. Second half, he kept things a little bit better, but again, a 6. Mo Salah, I gave a 7 too. Got back to goal scoring ways against United during the week there. He was Liverpool's biggest attacking threat, really, when you think about it, but just again lacked that little bit of, I don't know, it's like as if he's just a yard off his pace in terms of his peak, because you see him cutting inside and the ball gets toe poked off him and stuff like that, whereas before he'd be gone. So I don't know what it is with Mo at the moment. He just seems to be, and it was through the whole team today. It wasn't just Mo Salah. We were just laboured in trying to play our way, and he was up against that Milenko lad at the back. He did a really good job on Mo Salah today, in fairness. He had him most times and stuff like that. But I think Mo at times, sometimes his decision making as well can be a little bit off, where he just runs into trouble and looks like he's giving the ball up cheaper than it is. But we know what he's trying to do. But yeah, Labour today. Diogo Jota, I gave a 6 too. Failed to offer anything really. And you could see why he was. Yes, you could see why he was hooked off. He was getting more involved in the emotional side of the derby and the petulance and all that kind of stuff than he was, and focusing on the actual football. So give him a 6 today, and he got hooked for Diaz, I think it was. Mane, a 6 as well. Again, very hard to operate at the level that they operated the other night against United. When again you have two very organised, 2 banks of 5 nearly it was at times, with no outlet for Everton when they picked up the ball. He was unlucky with the curl over from distance, but kept his endeavour and kept it going. But again, he'll tell you it's always a tough day at the office when you're playing Everton in these derbies, and you don't really get an opportunity to show really what you're about. In terms of the subs, Diaz came on for Keita on 60. I gave Diaz an 8. Comes off the bench, always looks dangerous, a bundle of energy. Outrageous first touch. And he's been an incredible signing since he came in. Has hit the ground from the minute he came in, and looks like he's been playing for Liverpool on that side for years. But when he comes on, I think defenders are looking and they just can't work him out and stuff like that. And that's the way, like when I talk about Mo Salah, that's the way Mo Salah was. He had that energy and that touch where you just didn't know what, there was an unpredictability about him. Whereas if you look at our play today for 50 minutes, 55 minutes, we were very predictable. Ball out to Trent, ball out to Robbo, ball to Trent, onto Salah. Like everything was quite predictable, and everything had kind of worked us out a little bit. Divock came off for Mane on 60, gave him a 9. He scored against Everton again. What can we say about this boy? And we did mention a couple of episodes back when we heard that he was heading off to AC Milan. We said he could be vital in coming off the bench and giving us a few more moments before he leaves. And I believe that could still happen as well. And it did happen today. Getting that second goal, which is very, very important, because 1-0 is such an iffy scoreline. So when you get that second goal, there's a bit more calmness about it, and you can play within yourself again. You don't have to chase the game. You can reserve your energy a little bit. You don't have to be going in for stupid tackles or endangering yourself in any way. Jordan came on for Jota on 82. Give Jordan a 7. What do we say about Jordan? Got badly tackled by Dele Alli and got into a scrap with Richarlison. And that's as much as we can say about it. I was surprised that Jordan didn't start. I thought Jordan might start this game, but I wonder is he keeping him for Wednesday? But I would have thought Jordan, the the physicality of that midfield and stuff like that, I thought that would have played into Jordan a little bit. But we've seen in the past as well with these derbies as well, Jordan wears his emotion on his sleeve when it comes to these matches as well. And maybe it wouldn't have suited him either. But we have to say the gaffer got it right with the substitutions. Picked up the 3 points, reduced the gap to 1 again to City. We now have the opportunity, if we can, get the job done with Villarreal on Wednesday and then move on to Newcastle on Saturday. We play before Man City, who have a trip to Leeds, which could be tough. But if we could put the 3 points on the board and go 2 points ahead, just put that little bit of pressure back on them again. But certainly we're sending the message to Man City that this title race is going right to the wire and we ain't going away anytime soon. So if they win this, they're gonna have to earn. They're gonna have to earn it. They're gonna have to win every game from now in, because I just don't see us losing any games. Touch wood, but I just want the title race to continue, and I want the boys to stay fit. I mean, that's all you can ask. As always, Reds, if you want to drop your ratings down there, let us know what you thought of the show. If you want to contact us, we're on Twitter at Session Shankly. Audio versions show Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. You'll also get us on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, the Upper Tier Podcast. And you'll also get us on email, the Upper Tier Podcast at gmail.com. Till next time, we will talk to you before Wednesday.